Hey, what's going on, Raid community? I'm Pocket Gaming, and this is another Raid Shoutout video. And in today's video, I am going to show you how you can create your own Go Second Arena team. We're going to go all the elements that go into making a Go Second Arena team, Go Slow team, as you would say, some people say anyway, which will entail gear sets, masteries, champ skills that you're looking for, team composition, so what kind of champs you need in the team to make a Go Second team work well, and then also team matchups, what kind of teams that you can go against or should go against to give you the best chances of winning that fight. Now, with all that said, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that to make a Go Second or efficient Go Second arena team is not for a new beginning account. It's primarily for a mid-game to later game account because you're going to need more stats and gear requirements and champions to make an efficient Go Second arena team. So let's move on to gear and let's see what gear we have to consider when we're making a Go Second arena team. Okay, so here we are looking at artifact sets. So we already acknowledged that the other team is going to go first and we're going to go second. So you know they're going to hit you with a really big nuke to try to get you out of there. And your job is to try to survive that first initial hit so you can return them with the smack of your own. So the shield set is the perfect set to help you with that. It gives you a 30% allied shield for 3 turns. That means the more health you have, the bigger the shield. So you want a champion with a pretty decent base HP, and for the set itself, you want to look for HP percent substats. And hopefully when you roll it up, you'll land on that and roll those substats. Or you can glyph them to try to get as high as possible. I would look for a HP main stat on the chest or the gloves. If you have enough speed on the other gear pieces, then maybe the boots, but try to build up as much HP as possible so you can get a bigger shield and it will help you in the fight. So we have another set that's similar to that, which is the bolster set, which is very similar to the shield set, except that it has a protective shield for 3 turns, and it also heals the wearer of this set by 10% every time they take a turn. You can farm the bolster, not farm, I'm sorry. You can get the bolster set from the Forge Pass. Okay, the next few artifact sets I'm going to talk about help mitigate damage. So Stalwart is an easy set to obtain. You farm it in the Dragon's Lair. It's a 4-piece set which mitigates 30% damage from AoE attacks. Now that's only AoE attacks, not single target attacks. But still, it's useful because in the arena, you're mostly getting hit with AoE attacks from the nukers. It's very versatile in regards like you can build your nuker with a Stalwart set, or your ally protection champion, or your healer / reviver or cleanser with this set. So that's really helpful in the arena with this set. And moving on to the next one is I highly recommend this set. The Guardian set you can obtain from the Doom Tower, and every time I see the Griffin, I am farming this set because this set, I cannot tell you how good this set is. It absorbs 10% of all the damage dealt to allied champions to the wearer of this set, and heals the wearer by 10% every time they take a turn. So all it really is a mini ally protection that's always on. You don't have to do anything special. Every time your team takes a hit, you take some of that damage, and not only that, you get healed for 10% every time you take a turn. So I put this on ally protection champion. So ally protection buff itself will mitigate about 50% damage, and then you count on another 10%, plus you getting healed. So obviously you want to try to get HP percent substats on your artifact sets, because I use this on my Kyoku and I've noticed an instant how much damage is mitigated. So I highly recommend this set. Really good set to use. And then the next set we have is going to be Defiance set. Now, Defiance set is a little hard to obtain because you get it from the Forge Pass as well, but it's a two-piece set, and I love two-piece sets. So essentially, it's like the Stalwart, but a little bit better because it gives you plus 10% defense and mitigates 15% damage taken from AoE attacks. Again, that's only AoEs, not single target, but you are getting an extra 10% in your defense. And plus, since it's a two-piece set, if you have a full set of 6, that's going to be 15, 15, and 15. So 45% damage mitigated. So it's actually a much better than the Star Wars set. So that's a really good, those sets are really good to consider when you are building your Go Second Arena team. All right, the next few artifacts I'm going to talk about mainly deal with resistance. And the strategy behind that is the more resistance you have built onto your support champions, your healer, your reviver, your cleanser, is because you don't want them to be CC'd, stunned, feared, or skills locked out or reset. And if you build enough resistance, the chances of that happening are less likely. So when the enemy team goes first and they do whatever stun, fear, and this won't affect you, and then you're allowed to revive, heal, or cleanse, and then your team goes, and hopefully you win the fight. So resistance sense will help you do that, build resistance. You get plus 40 resistance for every 2 pieces you get. Highly recommend that you try to get resistance in the substats as well. That will help build for resistance. Of course, resistance banner or resistance chest piece. If you get a chest piece with resistance on it, I would say try to get an HP or defense roll underneath there just to make you a little bit more tankier. And then we have the immunity set, which back in the day, this was a really popular set, especially when you had the Hegemons, because Hegemon passive allows him to go first every time, and then he locks your team out. So I know a lot of teams used to have this on. Not as popular as it was, but it's still a good alternative. So then the next one is going to be the Untouchable set. You can get it from the Doom Tower by farming the Scarab King. It's just a blend of the resistance set and immunity set together, 4-piece set. I would say, again, put it on your healer or any support champion. Of course, resistance substats is what you're looking for. So when you do forge this, you want to use your resistance glyphs on this. And the last one is going to be the Fortitude set, which is a really, really good set. So the Fortitude set you get from Bommel. It gives you plus 40 resistance and 10% defense. So this helps you be a little bit more tankier. It's a really, really good set. All right. So this is going to be one of the last few artifacts I'm going to talk about. This is going to be Stone Skin. I don't really think I should say anything more. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. It's a really, really good set. I just hate seeing it in more tubes, UDK, Hefrak. It's annoying to deal with, but you can still deal with it. But all you need is 4 pieces or 6 pieces, and there you go. You just need the right stats for your champion, and it's whatever you want it to be. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much more about it because I don't know. It's Stone Skin. What can I say? But I talked about Go Second Arena, and you got to think of one of these options to help you survive and go second. And this definitely will. So it's better than the shield. I'm just going to leave it right there. All right. And just honorable mentions. You can use a retaliation set. I don't really use this too much, but it gives you a 15% chance to counterattack when hit. It's a 2-piece set. I mean, that's a good option. I'd rather look for something that helps you survive and then you take your turn afterwards. But counterattacks are really good. It's a low chance, 15%. I mean, if you had a full 6-piece set on, it's more like 45, but something to consider. Moving on to Masteries. Knowing the right Masteries will be very important to building a good Go Second Arena team. And the Masteries we're going to cover are going to be the defensive and support tree. Depending if you are building a tank or support champion will determine what masteries you should choose. So let's take a quick look at my Kayuku's masteries. So down here on the left side on the defensive tree, I chose Defiant because I wanted a little more resistance to add on to it, so it gives you plus 10 resistance. And then over here we have Improved Parry, decreases the damage received by this champion by 8% when this champion is hit with a critical hit. And I went down to Wisdom of Battle, 30% chance of placing a block debuff buff on this champion for 1 turn when stunned, slept, feared, true feared, freeze, petrified. And then over here on the left, we have Rejuvenation, increased amount of healing, and the value of shield buffs this champion receives by 5%. Down to Resurgence, has a 50% chance of removing 1 random debuff from this champion when they lose 25% of their max HP or more from a single enemy skill. And then of course, Delay of Death, which is very helpful and mitigating damage for your team or for yourself. Reduces the damage this champion receives from a specific enemy by 0.75%, and that is with each hit taken from that enemy, and it stacks up to 6% for each enemy. And moving down to Selfless Defender, decreases the damage decreases the damage an ally receives from the first enemy hit in each round by 20%. This champion will receive that damage instead. So it's kind of like a UDK. You take the first hit and it just reduces the damage. And then we go over here on the right, we have Retribution. It just gives you a 50% chance to counterattack when this champion loses 25% of their max HP or more from a single enemy hit. So that's really good for like if your champion, one of your nukers, you can use this as well. For example, has a really good A1, like Phoenix, where his A1, it can has a block death. He's a really good A1, or like Skull Crown, where her A1 is AoE A1. So stuff like a strong nuker like that, this would be very helpful. So moving on to Bulwarks, decreases the damage all allies receive by 5%. This champion will receive the damage instead. So if you have like a Guardian set, a Star Ward, this is really good because Guardian set already has ally protection built in it, and this on top of that will help you mitigate damage for the rest of the team while this champion, your tank, takes that damage. So going down this support side, I need it because she's taking the damage. I added Steadfast to give you more HP, which gives you plus 810 HP. Moving down to Lay on Hands, increases the value of heals this champion receives by 5%. Then going down to Healing Savior, increased amount of healing and the value of shield buff placed by this champion by 10% if the target ally has 40% HP or less. And then we have Merciful Aid, increased amount of healing, value of shield buffs placed by this champion by 15% if the target ally is stunned, slept, feared, true fear, or frozen. And then moving over to Cycle of Magic, has a 5% chance of decreasing the cooldown of a random skill by 1 turn at the start of every turn. So just a quicker ability to get your skills that are on cooldown back up much quicker. And then down to Lasting Gifts, has a 30% chance to extend the duration of any buff cast by this champion. It will not extend block damage, unkillable, revive on death, or taunt. So the reason I chose these for support is because Kayuku has a passive that will allow her to heal when she takes a critical hit. So that's why I chose Lay on Hands, so she can heal the rest of the team. And also Healing Savior. Plus she has some buffs. Ally protection, if you get a chance to extend that ally protection, that will help your team survive a little bit longer if the fight, which will carry on a little longer, being that you're a ghost second. Sometimes it takes a little longer in the fight. Okay, moving on to support masteries. Now these masteries are going to cover for your healer, your reviver, or your cleanser. And on the defensive tree side, they're pretty much similar to your tank masteries, except you won't be selecting any masteries that will mitigate damage for the rest of your team. Just masteries that will either increase your defense or your tankiness or resistance to, so you won't get any like negative effects like decrease down or get CC, or at least help with that anyway. So I chose Defiant because I wanted more resistance. Improved parry, decrease damage received by this champion for 8% when you hit with a critical hit. Rejuvenation, which I covered earlier. Resurgent, which just removes one random debuff or 50% chance. And then I chose Shadow Heal because the other team has a healer most of the time, so another way to give you some kind of sustainability in the fight. So when they heal, you get healed a little bit. And Delay of Death, just another way to mitigate some more damage. And then I also chose Cycle of Vengeance. Has a 50% chance to increase the turn meter by 15% when the ally is attacked with a critical hit. Will only increase the turn meter once if the ally receives multiple critical hits from a single skill. And then move on to Retribution, a 50% chance to counterattack when this champion loses 25% of their max HP or more from a single hit. I had nothing else to select, so I just chose this. But because so on the support side, and Molly does CC, she helps a lot CC, so I want to make sure she gets some accuracy in there. So I chose Pinpoint Accuracy, and then down to Charge Focus to increase the accuracy by 20 when this champion has no skill on cooldown, and then some more accuracy. Swarm Smiter increases the accuracy by 4 for each enemy alive, stacks up to 16. And then we have Lore Steel. So this would increase the stats of a set bonus. So that's artifacts like speed, artifacts like attack set, or even resistance set. Those are increased, those kind of just regular stat bonuses. It gives you an extra stat bonus for 15%. And then I move down to Cycle of Magic. Has a 5% chance to decrease the cooldown of a random skill by 1 turn at the start of every turn. So just another way to get back to her abilities much quicker. And then we have Spirit Haze. Increases the speed by 8% for each dead ally, and because she's a reviver, that's why I chose Spirit Haze. So if somebody dies, she can hopefully get back to her abilities much quicker, so she can revive her fallen teammates. And then I went all the way down to Oppressor, which increases the turn meter fill by 2.5% for each active debuff cast by this champion, stacks up to 10%. And because Molly does provoke debuff, hopefully she gets back around and can keep that other team provoked. Last but not least is going to be our Nuker Masteries. Now on the Nuker, because you're doing damage, you're obviously going to need to go down the offensive tree side. And the defensive tree side, because I haven't built like a glass cannon, I did want some damage mitigation in there. I do have accuracy on my Shaw because he does do some CC, and he does strip buffs, or steal buffs I should say. But I have enough accuracy built into his artifacts that I don't need to go down the support side, and it's more important for me to make him try to survive the fight. Even though I do have other, like a tank champion to help him mitigate damage, I still want to try to sneak in enough damage mitigation so he can hopefully survive as much as possible. So I went down with Defiant for just plus 10 resistance, and then some improved parry for more mitigation. And then we went down to Bloodthirst, which heals this champion by 10% of the max HP when they kill a target enemy. So because he's a nuker and he's going to be dealing damage and hopefully killing enemies, this is going to help him last longer in the fight. And then Delay of Death, which is more damage mitigation. And then you mostly want to have Retribution, because your nuker does a lot of damage, hopefully has a 50% chance to counter when this champion loses 25% of their max HP from a single target hit. And then on to Deterrence, has a 20% chance to counter when an enemy has a 20% chance to counter an enemy when they apply stun, sleep, fear, or true fear, petrification, or sleep debuff on an ally. So the 1 turn cooldown. So hopefully if they hit any of your champions, that will trigger it so he can do damage to the other team. And then now on the tree side. You can either go either way. I went down to add a little bit more crit rate, but if you have enough crit rate, you can go down to Blade of Discipline. But I went from Deadly Precision, which adds plus 5% crit, and then I did the Shield Breaker because most of the teams in Arena usually have a shield set on. This will increase your shield set. Now, this will increase your damage that you do to the shield. Now, mind you, when you have this only adds more damage if the enemy team has a shield on. It's not going to add more damage if they do not have a shield on. And then I went down to Keen Strike, just add 10% crit damage. And then Single Out increases the damage inflicted to a target with less than 40% HP. And then Bring It Down, increase the damage inflicted by 6% when attacking a target with higher match HP. Then I moved over to Kill Streak, increase the damage inflicted by 6% in the arena and 3% in other locations in the game. And then all the way down to Helm Smasher, has a 50% chance to ignore 25% of the target's defense. For this ignore skill is in addition to the amount of ignored by a skill. So if you have an ability or skill that ignores damage, this can be an additional ignore damage on top of that. And then I went down to Ruthless Ambush, increases the damage increased by 8% on the first hit. So the first hit you can do most amount of damage. Hopefully we take them out in the first strike. And then Opportunist increases the damage inflicted to a target when they're stunned, sleep, feared, true feared, freeze, or petrification. So if you have any debuffs, you're going to do more damage. And Mashal does have fear and true fear, so he will do much damage on it with this skill. When building a Ghost Second Arena team, you have to consider the team dynamics. Now this is heavily dependent on your champion roster. I would recommend looking for a healer / reviver. Hopefully you have a support champion that can do all three, which is heal, revive, and cleanse. Otherwise, you will have to have 2 support champions on the team, 1 healer / reviver, and another support champion that's a cleanser / whatever support skills that they might have that'd be useful for your team. Because you already know the enemy team is going to go first, so your team is going to be subjected to some negative status effects like fear, provoke, and or defense down. So it would be wise for you to have a cleanser to clear those negative side effects. I would recommend building your support champion, which is your cleanser, in high resistance, either using an immunity set or a resistance set, so it's less likely they're going to be hit with negative status effects, and they're free to cleanse your team so you can get a second go. Next, I would recommend an ally support champion with a high HP build in a shield set or guardian set to help mitigate the damage. And of course, you're going to be using defensive masteries to help minimize the damage for the rest of your team. And then last but not least, your nuker. He basically the tip of your spear. Your nuker is going to be built in a high 100% crit rate, high crit damage, offensive masteries, and offensive artifacts like ignore defense, which would be namely savage set or cruel set, and of course defensive masteries, so your glass cannon has a little bit of tankiness. Moving on to champion skills, we will discuss champion skills. And in the arena currently right now, it's a really buff heavy, so I would recommend looking for champions who can steal or strip buffs. Like a perfect example would be a Madame Siri or Sun Wukong, because he was just recently a guaranteed champion. Decrease enemy buff duration skills like a Harvest Jack, a Sandlash Survivor, or even a Godseeker Aniri are good examples of that. Next, think about CC or crowd control skills to hinder your enemy team. I would consider block active skills, AoE block active skills, provoke, block buffs, anything you can think of, just to slow them down and give you an advantage. So also you have to flip side of the coin, you have to consider buffs to make you more defensive. I would also look into like a ally protection buff. Strengthen is a very good one in combination with increased defense, would help you immensely as far as like mitigating damage, and also at the same time the increased defense will make your defensive nukers deal more damage. So that's, you have to always consider that. Turn manipulation, that's a really good one. Decreasing turn meter while also increasing your turn meter, like Deacon Armstrong is a perfectly good example. And just to throw it out there, when you're making a Ghost Second Arena team, you're not neglecting speed at all. You're just figuring that the other team is going to go first. So, but you still need to try to put speed in there. But once you get further in arena or tag team arena specifically, because the teams are tougher, they're going to be most of the time go faster than you, but you still need to add speed in there because you don't want to get build a champion or your teams with no speed and then you're going to get lapped, which will defeat the purpose. Because if you're getting lapped, your team is going to get destroyed. And I've seen some teams where I've gone against where they were that much faster and they lap you, and on top of that they're decreasing your turn meter, provoking you, um enemy blocked active skills, or there's a warlord in there uh putting your skills on cooldown. So you just have to be very mindful that you're still adding speed. Don't forget that. It's just that your focus is not going to be solely on going fast. You're thinking your focus is to survive the first hit, minimizing damage, and then coming back and hopefully winning the fight. Okay, the last section is going to be team matchup. This is a little bit of a tricky subject because this is not a one fits all kind of strategy. Once you have your team built out, you're going to have to familiarize yourself with your team. This is something that you develop over time as you do trial and error and use your team in the arena. What I would advise you to do when you're in the versus screen is to evaluate the other team and see if you have a counter for what the other team offers. If you're not familiarized with champion skills on the other team, go through each one of these and look at their skills and see what they have and see if you have a counter for that. And remember, the goal is to move forward in the ranks of Tag Team Arena. So you don't have to win every fight, but I want you to try to at least win one, and then eventually win two. We're not going for a 3P. We're just trying to slowly inch our way forward. So when your team starts winning, and I would definitely go to your battle log and look to see, like, okay, every time I get attacked, am I winning one? See here, right here, I won one, I won two. This is what you don't want to see. You want to see this constantly happening, because if this is happening, your team's getting wiped out, then you're going to drop down so much quicker throughout the week. You just want to try to win one, and hopefully your defense will hold up. Eventually, over time, you will get to where you want to be. Like I did last couple months, I would say, I would dip into silver 3 and then fall back out. Last week, I almost got out of silver 3 and moved into silver 4. But that was a couple of mistakes. I fell asleep early, so I didn't fall out of silver 3. I stayed in silver 3, but over time, as I start to develop, I will create another Ghost Second Arena team, most likely a bomb team, just to try to take out some of these stone skins. But you gotta, it's a game of inches. So that's how I look at it. It's a game of inches. So you slowly will progress and get better. You're building up your gear. You're building up your Grey Hall, which is very important to work on to make you hopefully you'll get to where you be. But you will get there eventually. So hopefully all the stuff that I put in this video answers or helps you develop your own account, because I know this is a long drawn out problem with Tag Team Arena because it's very tough. You got to do what you got to do, even if you have to put everybody in stone skin, which I'm not going to do. But with all that said, I hope you learned everything you could from me, and hopefully I could help any of you guys out. And if I did, please leave a comment if I missed something or forgot something in this video. I'd like to always improve my content. But with all that said, you guys have a good one, and I'm out. Peace.